Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I'm Cathy Costanzo, and it's really great to be here today with all of you. I want to thank you all for coming. I'm going to introduce the panelists and then just do a brief introduction about our project, and then you'll hear from everyone else at the table, so I'll try to be really quick. With me today is Mel Cooper. And Mel is a board member of Self Advocates Becoming Empowered, which for those of you who are Canadian is a national self-advocacy organization here in the United States. And she's also a self-advocacy specialist at the ARC of Indiana. And with Mel today is Ruby Moore. And probably you all have met her many times over the course of at least the last few days, if not the last many years. But Ruby is the Chief Executive Officer of Georgia Advocacy and is also an IIDL, IIMHL board member and many other things. And has been, the Georgia Advocacy Office has been a big part of the project that we're going to be talking about today. To my left is Darien Todd, and Darien is a community advocacy specialist at the Georgia State University, and also is a co-lead of the Georgia team that we're going to be telling you about over the course of this afternoon. And to his left is Dana Lloyd, and Dana is the DD director at Georgia Advocacy Office and also the SCM director and one of the other co-lead of the Georgia team. And next to me, to my immediate left is Hasan Co. Yeah, I do know that. And Hasan is the self-advocacy specialist at Green Mountain Self-Advocacy. And Green Mountain Self-Advocacy is one of the coolest self-advocacy organizations in the entire country. So one of the things that I usually am a last-minute kind of person. So this morning I was sitting at breakfast trying to figure out what to say about today's session, and I was sitting with Tia and with Hasan and with Darien, and I said, well, how should we start? And Hasan said, we should start with telling everybody we're all leaders. Every one of us is a leader. And so it gave me goosebumps, and I thought, that's exactly what this project has been about and exactly why we want to talk to you about it. And we have all learned from one another, and we've all taught one another. And so I think that's the very, very wonderful takeaway from all of this. Mm-hmm. So with no further ado, I just want to tell you a little bit about this project and then turn it over to Mel and Ruby. This project is a very, very cool project that's been funded by the United States Administration for Community Living, otherwise referred to as ACL. And it's talked about as a project of national significance. And frankly, I think that's a term that gets thrown around a lot, in government circles. But in this case, I think it's a really well-deserved description of the project. The grant had 4 goals. A major focus of the grant was to promote and support youth leadership. And that's the one that we've really taken to heart, And then the second focus was to promote alternatives to guardianship for transition-aged youth with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And we within this project, have made a particular focus or priority around supported decision-making. A third area of priority was to develop a national community of practice, which we are doing. And then in addition, there's a research and evaluation component. There are a number of key partners, and the partners in part will tell you why the project has worked so well. So Self Advocates Becoming Empowered, again, the national self-advocacy group, the Institute for Community Inclusion at the University of Massachusetts, HSRI, Human Services Research Institute. Val Bradley's the founder of that organization, and they're in it, and it's been great. Georgia Advocacy Office and the Center for Public Representation, where I work as well. In the first round, the first year of the project, we selected 3 states to be part of the community of practice, and those states included Vermont, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And you're going to be hearing some today from people that participated in that first, what we called a first cohort. And then in this year, most recently, we've selected 5 additional states. We had committed to doing 4, but there's such enthusiasm and such hunger among the states. It was an open process, and we had 25 applications each year in the first year for 3 slots, and in this year for 4, but we decided to go with 5 because we couldn't make up our minds. And we wanted to get as many people in as possible. Very strikingly, there are no funds associated with the states for the states participating in this. They do it out of the love for the subject and interest in moving and advancing these issues, and for being part of something that's very, very cool. There are funds, however, available for the youth ambassadors, and so they get paid a stipend, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. The youth in the project are 14 to 26-year-olds. Right now, the current community of practice includes youth from junior high to college graduates. They are different races, they speak different languages, they have different ethnicities, gender identities, and cultures. There's been, the first year we had a 16-week curriculum for the youth ambassadors. This year we scaled it back to 13 because there was a lot of complaining about homework and lots of classes, so we tried to take that into account and be a little more streamlined in what we did. And the curriculum was developed by SABE and the project staff, a bunch of us that have been involved. It's been led by older self-advocates. Each youth ambassador is part of a state team, and each state team has a youth co-lead. And so, as I mentioned, both Darien and Hasan are co-leads in their respective states. Each team develops and implements a plan for their state, but they also work with youth ambassadors to develop an individualized plan for each of the youth, and they get to figure out the project that they want to work on and get support from the youth ambassador team that meets with them in an ongoing way. So it's not just 13 weeks and you're done. There are ongoing calls and support sessions and TA calls and office hours, if you will, that people can call into and get help. But also their state teams are working with the youth ambassadors from those states to advance their projects. And the other thing I just want to say about this is that the youth and other self-advocates have been involved in every step of this process. And we kind of said that from the beginning, we wanted to do it, but boy, we're really doing it. And each year the project goes on, we're doing it differently and better, I think, frankly. Youth have been involved, and self-advocates have been involved in the selection of states to interview, like literally reading through and helping us sort through the 25 applications, conducting interviews, the selection process, participation in partners meetings, state community of practice meetings, and as you can see, national conferences, and international conferences in this case. So I'm going to stop talking and let Ruby and Mel talk to you about why they're here and how and why Mel has been involved.
Yeah, so let me just start by saying in defense of two old ladies here that Cathy referred to Mel as an old self-advocacy leader. She's an established She's an established self-advocacy leader. One of the joys of this project it's been co-creation and co-production at every step, and the youth, along with the other partners, did decide that we thought it would be the coolest thing to have established self-advocacy leaders, longstanding leaders, working with the other partners and with the youth directly to say, what should the curriculum be? And so Mel's been a big part of that. She's co-presenter of two seriously established self-advocacy leaders in that first realm, and now you're doing the second cohort as well. But just to start off to kind of a foundation, I've come to know you really well through this project, and I know you've told the stories about really how hard it was kind of growing up when people didn't believe that you could make decisions. And could you talk a little bit about kind of how that felt and what changed that?
How did it feel? Oh my God, how much time you got? It felt sad because I went to school. I grew up in Georgia. My grandmother raised me. And truly, I could have asked for a better person to raise me, and she gave me nothing but love and joy and respect. But going to school and being out there in the community, I knew I wasn't accepted. I wasn't there. I wasn't a part of something, you know. But my grandma was the kind of woman that when she said something, you did it because you knew if you didn't, there's going to be trouble down the line. So I grew up and I graduated from high school in 1988. I think that's my proudest moment. Well, like anybody else, I wanted to go to college, but my grandmother had been my rock. And in the right after I graduated high school, she got sick, and I thought, I can't leave you now. I need to stay here close to you because you raised me, so I need to stay. So I stayed with her. And in 1990, Mother's Day night, never will forget that night, she had a stroke. And the night that she had that stroke, that's the night that my whole life changed. Because the next morning, she went to the hospital and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So I was like, what's going to happen to me now? So I had an aunt that lives in Indianapolis, and her and I like this year. I mean, she'll be actually 92 years old next month. But her and I was tight, and she called me. She said, Mel, come on to Indiana. Are you serious? But I came because there was nothing in Georgia. Where we were at, there was nothing in Georgia for the people with disabilities. So I came up to Indianapolis. I lived with my aunt and her two really good kids. And I lived with my aunt for 2 years. But in that 2 years, I got a job, my first job. And it was at Goodwill. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is okay. But it wasn't me. I knew that. But in the midst of that, I learned so much because in Georgia, I couldn't do the things. I couldn't go to the bank. I couldn't go to the bank and put money into my account. My girlfriend was like, no, you can't do that. But I remember when we got in Indiana and my aunt, and I got my first paycheck at Goodwill. And I'm like, my first paycheck, I'm happy. And I remember the day we pulled up at the bank and I stopped the car and I looked there. I said, are you going with me in the bank? She said, no. If you want to cash that check, she said, you better get out here and go cash it. So I did. I went in and I cashed that check. Didn't have no problems at all. Came back and I go, why did you want me to go with you? I'm like, because at home. She go, well, you ain't home now. She said, so you're going to do everything you need to do. And from that moment on, I seen things change in my life. I got a job. I worked at Goodwill for 6 years, but then my ex for 12, but I still wasn't happy. Like, no, there's something missing. And then in Indiana, there's a class that we call Partners in Policy Making. I took that class, and I got to meet people like Betty Williams, Dr. Snips, and being a part of the South African, and I see myself grow. I see myself at that moment grow and doing things and living and making decisions on my own. I got married to my husband Joe for 15 years, and that was the joy of my life, being married to Joe. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, Joe passed away. But I made Joe a promise that I wasn't going to stop. So I wasn't going to stop working. So now, in Indiana, there's me, my support team, elders are part of my team, my aunt, all my people. So I'm working, and still, today, I'm still working. I'm still making dreams and making goals of my own. And my aunt's like, oh God, what happened to you? She said, you're not, my aunt was over to my house just last Sunday, and she looked at me, and I'm like, what are you looking at? She said, look at you. She said, you're not the little girl that came here in the early 90s. You're not the little girl that mama raised. You're this woman now. She said, you just grew up. She said, it's like you grew up overnight. So, yeah. And my dreams now is to work and keep on working. And it's amazing to me that I'm thinking about retirement. And I'm like, oh my God. A couple of years ago, I'm like, oh my God, retirement. So my goal is that when I retire, I'm going to get a condo in Florida and live on Cocoa Beach. So that is my dream and my goal. Thank you.
Hey, Mel, so, your aunt believed in you and really kind of pushed you along to make some decisions. Mm-hmm. And when this project came along and it's all about people holding on to the reins of their life, making their own decisions and supported decision making, why was it important to you to be a part of it?
Because I believe that we all, our people with disabilities, all of us, we have the right to live our lives. This is your life. And you should be able to make your own decisions and tell people what you want for your life. That's why it's really important to me to be able to advocate not only for me, but for all people with disabilities.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Okay, Darien is going to, we have a nice surprise for you. So Darien, would you like to introduce it, please?
Yes. So, hi everyone. So we're going to watch a video of future advocates talking about why it's important. Why is it important to them that supported decision making is a thing that people should really look into in Georgia. So it's from Georgia's team, Vermont's team, and also Wisconsin's team. So I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Ashley Matthew from Wisconsin. I am a mentor for our Center on Youth Voice Youth Choice Project. I recently sat down for a discussion with 6 self-advocates from Georgia, Vermont, and Wisconsin. They are all ambassadors for the Youth Voice Youth Choice Project, a national coalition. It brings together youth and young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities to learn about and advance alternatives to guardianship in their states. Let's listen in on our conversation. Welcome, everybody. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darien Todd. I am from Ellenwood, Georgia, and I work at the Center for Leadership and Disability at Georgia State University. It's nice to be here.
My name is Hasan. I'm from Vermont. I work at the Green Mountains Advocacy.
My name is Derek Hurd. I live in Albany, Georgia. I love to do graphic design.
Liana Gaia. I'm from Montpelier, Vermont, and I volunteer for the Mountaineers, which is a baseball team here in Vermont.
Hi guys, my name is Jenny. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my favorite hobbies are singing, dancing, and listening to music.
Hi, my name is William Becker. I like to play basketball and eat McDonald's. And I'm from Oregon, Wisconsin.
So let's talk about how you use supportive decision-making in your life. Darien.
When I need a certain decision made. So, for example, I know a big decision was going to college. I always knew I wanted to go, but I was wondering if there was any colleges for me that was suitable for me. So I went to my parents and they helped me come up with some ideas that are really great for me to look into.
Liana.
I go to my fiance about decisions that involve money in different situations.
Hasan.
I always go to talk with my parents, and also in my culture, we don't have anything to do with who is the charge of your life, like for a guardian. And in my culture, we don't have those kind of rule about guardianship. My family and me decide what to do.
Johnny.
Well, I usually ask my mom and sometimes my neighbor for help, but other times I help myself because I'm very smart and I can figure things out and I'm very independent.
Derek.
Well, first, I used to support decision making by not doing the workplace a summer. I focused on my own business. Now I am starting the entering doing graphics. I also have speaking engagement and other groups want to use my art.
As ambassadors, you went through a 16-week training. What are some things that you learned?
I've learned how to make my own decisions better and properly, or maybe smarter. We all kind of learned that. It's not always easy to make your own decisions, but as we get older, we get a little smarter and wiser, and we don't want our parents to like control us because that's what parents do sometimes.
Yes, that's good to make your own choices. It makes you feel heard and welcomed and like you're a person.
Like a real person. Yes.
I learned about guardianship. Some people have a guardian and some people don't have a guardian.
I learned a lot from different states and meeting people.
Is there anything that you learned about making your own decisions, Liana?
SMART goals.
To be like your own, to be yourself, to not be under your families anymore. I mean, it was kind of long, yes, but it does help you in the long run when you're older.
I learned of my powerful voice. I learned that just because I need help doesn't mean they're not right to take my rights. That's fine. I learned I can plan my own future. I choose my support decision making.
You want to make sure that you choose someone that you trust and has your best interests at heart. Then again, if you realize that that person is not really a good fit for this certain thing that you chose this person to be, you can change that person. So for example, you want Mike to help you with your finances. And you were like, Mike was good with his finances, but you realize that Mike is not really too good with your finances right now. So you say, hey, I want to change Mike to a person that I know is really good with finances and can also manage his and manage mine without any complications or anything. The one thing that I also really enjoyed was just hearing everybody's stories and their backgrounds about what they're going to do in their states.
Now let's talk a little bit about what you hope to do with the information you learned. Liana.
I am going to make a video about what I learned about rep PAs, and I'm going to share it with high school students.
Interesting. Hasan.
In my life right now, I'm working with the South Vacancy, so I always want to do like sharing about that, like what they are needed for their life, you know?
I really hope to continue to reach out to parents and students and doctors as well, because they kind of need to know too. There's alternatives to guardianship. There's supportive decision making, which I think is better.
I plan to show my videos of support decision making to people in my community. I plan to share my video on social media when I want to go virtual. I plan to make paintings about why decision making is important. I plan to speak a vocational and training program hosted by VR and other groups.
All right. Will, how are you going to use the information from the training?
Probably bring out some flyers, going to kids' schools, talking to them about like supported decision making, have your own agreements. Just go out and show people that like it means a lot.
Well, what do you want someone that is 18 to know about supportive decision making?
I would tell them that making your own decisions is amazing. when you turn 18, you're gonna feel like a whole different person. Honestly, I rather would go with like by myself, do it on my own, pay my own money and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to do everything like everyone else too.
Exactly.
If you need help with a certain decision, you can pull people in your corner that you trust to help you make that decision. You can use supportive decision making. And then again, I would say, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to say what's on your mind. And not everyone is going to agree with what you're going to advocate about.
I know sometimes that I get scared to speak up for myself on what I want and what I need. So I think that we all are working on speaking up for ourselves too, which is very important.
And also vote. Your voice matters.
And listen to your own voice, and also trust your instinct.
I would tell him to watch my video about how I got rid of my payee and why I wanted to have a chance to be in charge of my own money. I would show people that I could do it on my own and get help if I needed it.
Just because you know something now doesn't mean you can't learn anything. And just because you need help doesn't mean people can take away your rights.
So Darien, how do you feel when people listen to you and value you?
I feel like that they are in my corner. They want to see me succeed. And they are willing to hear my options and also hear me when I say what I want. And also, they're not trying to steer me. If I say I want this thing, they're not going to try to be like, hey, maybe this thing is best. No, they're going to sit with me and they're going to say, hey, let's figure out something that we can do to get to that big idea that you have in the sky and see how we can make that a possibility. I feel like that's where dreams happen.
Liana, how does it feel to be supported and valued?
Like a huge weight is lifted off my shoulders. That it's not judgmental. That you don't feel like you're being judged by them.
If the people are in the same boat as me, if they are going to the same path as me, then I would say I'm so happy because it's happened to me too. So I can help them, guide them the right path. And that is what I want. So for me, it makes me happy.
I love it when people listen to other people. They should be, instead of ignoring each other, right?
Yeah. Thanks to Mom, I feel valuable. My friends and people and grandmas and grandparents, everybody is valuable. And they shall part me.
I mean, the fact that like you have people that sit around and say, "Oh, well, you can do this," then someone going out of the way saying you can't do this, or like I just like when people want you to succeed and want you to just be good in life. Then when someone wants to let you down and be sad, and I don't want that. I want to be happy and succeed in life and be who I am.
Thank you all for participating.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Remember, understand your rights, ask questions, and look for alternatives to guardianship.
So I was helping to support people the night we made that video. I've probably seen it like 6 other times, but it still packs a punch, right? This is why we do the work, is because we want to amplify the voices of young folks who can give us some direction, right? And there's one of the groups that some folks in Georgia belong to. When asked what they wanted from supporters, it said, "Help us get where we need to go and get out of the way." And I like that constant reminder. So we're going to ask Darien and Hasan a couple questions, and then still try to squeeze in some time for questions from you guys. So we'll start with Hasan. Why don't you tell us how supported decision making really helps people have more choice and control in their life?
First of all, people live their own way of life because they have their own dream and goal. Sorry. And because people have their own dream and goal, and they have to choose their own life, what they want to do, what they do with their life. And those are the important steps to follow what you want to do for everybody, not just self-efficacy, for anybody who are living life. And for some time, the self-efficacy have a helping hand from some people, but at the same time, there is a lot of helping coming from some people, but at the same time, it makes you feel like you are not a lot of having a lot of value of what you want to do, because people will look at you, or you might think like, it feel like people don't look at you, what you are very good at. Like, people need to know, like, what are you very good at, like, what is unique about you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Darien?
I keep forgetting I have to lean forward. I think supportive decision making help people achieve their goals and help them live a very successful life within their community, because I think it's important for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to have their own choices while living in their communities. And yeah.
Can I just ask, Hasan, can you talk a little bit about your culture? You mentioned it in the video, and we've had some really good conversations about it, and how your family and your culture helped you think through how you wanted to approach your life.
First of all, me and my family come from different culture, and when I was in high school, I don't know anything about a disability. When I was in high school, the teacher and my family talked together, and the teacher told us, like, I have a disability. Me and my family don't know anything about that disability. What is that disability? And for me, I also find out, like, oh, that's why I have a different class in school. And that is the reason I feel like I need to do something about that with my power, if I can do something about that. And so I try to be like, do however I can. And also in my culture, we don't believe about guardianship, because in my culture, we don't have it. And so everything decided by my family or me, because like you can say I am my own guardian, because at the same time, for the United States, there is a guardian, but at the same time, only difference is your family is helping you. At the same idea as like you having a guardianship, but only difference is you have to decide what you want to do. And so you have to tell your family about that. And so it's just the difference between, like, when I come to here, it felt like, oh, I don't have my guardianship in my culture, so I need to share that. So I'm just trying to share what I know. And if for me, like, I feel like there's not just my culture too, there's every other culture have different time and different rule about what they like to.
Tell them about your grandmother. What did she say to you?
My grandma said, like, you can do this, you don't need a guardian. And also my parents also say that, like, I don't need a guardian, I can do my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all enjoy that story of Hasan's culture kind of helping us think differently about it, right? That's not a universal concept, guardianship, right? Just a little chip in these Western ideas. So, Darien, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you feel like you learned participating in the Youth Ambassador Program?
So the things that I feel like that I've learned in the youth ambassadorship was I learned that within our team and within the people that we are working with, we all have the same idea surrounding supported decision making. Like I always said, we have the same project, but it all melts together when we talk about it, and again, we all talk about it in a different way. So, like I did a presentation, my friend Alicia over there, she did a pamphlet that tells you about supported decision making and what it can do and help with families. So, like I said, it all melts together, and we all touch base on the same things. We just advocate about it totally different in different aspects of the world.
Awesome. Hasan, what did you learn being a part of the Youth Ambassador Program?
For me, I know about what the guardianship can do to other people, and because when I started, I don't understand about what the guardianship will do to other people who have it or who don't have it. For me, it feels like there is a different side of the world when you need to understand that, because everyday life, people are learning and listening what we are trying to do. There is always opportunity. You have to choose your own way of thinking, because we always thinking about what we want to do, and so it feels like there is a positive side and negative side too. So you need to look at the different way.
Do you want to do question 6 or just go to the audience? We have 5 minutes.
So we had, many more pages of inquiry here, but we think it might be good for you to be able to ask some questions of us about the project. And one thing I wanted to say is in the Q&A, there's a series of questions that people have asked, and during our waiting for the captioning, one of the questions was, would the youth ambassadors be willing to travel to other places to talk about their work? And there was a resounding yes. So just know they're open to invitations internationally too. I'm sure Canada is not off the table.
Oh, no.
So
No, it's not.
yeah.
No, it's not.
So know that. But anyway, we're happy to take questions from any of you.
I'm John. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and it'd be great if you guys came up to Vancouver, Canada. So through the experience of taking the Youth Ambassador program and stuff, did you find also that you begin to rely on each other as youth ambassadors, like offline? Have you developed friendships with each other and supports for each other in a way that you didn't anticipate or you didn't think about, that you went, wow, I've got these friends I didn't know? Just curious about the connections you made in the program.
As you all know, for me, I like to connect with other people. When it comes to the connectionship, there is always opportunity you will gain something from other people. When we are doing a youth ambassador project, that was doing that when we were in a COVID time. So it feel like we are empty out what we want to do. So we have to find something to do with what we want to do, like connection. So the youth ambassador is helping us for that, because we get to see from different states, not just one state. And that is very different about we are using technology to see each other different states. So yeah.
Yes. So just to add on to what Hasan said, we had a retreat when everybody from Georgia and a little bit from Vermont came and just talk about what supported decision making is, and we had parents just to come to and talk about it. And then somewhere along the way, we also looked at the agreement. So it was just a little paper, but it was just it's not worthy of agreement what it looks like, but it was like a practice round to say, hey, this is what I want on my agreement. And this is who I choose. So we looked at that because the agreement is like a thing that you can look back at to give yourself a reminder, who did I choose to help me make this decision, if you forget. But you don't have to have one. So to your question, like, did we have connections? Did we make good friends? Yes, we did, because everyone wasn't just in Georgia. Everyone wasn't just in Vermont. Everyone wasn't just in Wisconsin. So we all made connections, and we all had everybody's ideas in that room, contemplating and talking about why supportive decision making was important to them. So yeah, we made very good connections.
Next retreat, you need to get together and figure out which one of you is going to run for president.
We already have an answer for that. Darien's nickname within our group is Senator Todd.
Yeah.
So we're well on our way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we were joking that for this conference, it was the first time many of us had actually met in person after 3 years.
Yeah.
So we all felt like we were going to bring frames for our faces so that we actually could recognize each other, Pretty funny.
My name is Elizabeth Kenzie, and I have parents that I make my own decisions. My parents help me if I have tough times. I go to my parents because they're all amazing, and I like my parents. Jackie, Richard, I love you so much.
Oh.
You guys are always in my heart, and thanks for being there.
Thank you. Oh, good.
I think this is really important to do, especially for people to be able to express their dreams and their goals, what they want to do in their life, and learn from each other is really important, because that peer-to-peer support is also important for other people to get the courage to speak up and to say what they want and what they need to do. And also, we can give them other ideas about the goals and dreams that they have, especially, as you saw, working together as a team with these guys. We've been spending time with them, and, Alicia knows what she wants to do. I mean, she wants to be a Zumba instructor, and I was helping her mom think about some of the things that she can do so that she can make that dream come true. So it definitely does work, and I think that you guys need to, it's late now, but next year for Tash, put in a presentation, because a lot more people with disabilities need to hear about this, because they don't even know what supported decision making is. And also, if you want to do something this year, there's still room for exhibitors. You could still be an exhibitor at Tash.
We're on the agenda at Tash.
Cool.
We got it.
All right, but just a plug into, keep the talking hyped up, because a lot of people with disabilities don't even know about supported decision making. Young and older people, don't know about that, and parents. Please get to parents.
Yes. Thanks for that, Tia.
Sorry. Richard.
Yeah, definitely, Richard.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard McKenzie. A real man do cry. I wasn't expecting that from Alicia. So, quick story. So, 2 years ago, my wife and I were mentally trained about guardianship, and we were really stressing a lot about how do we do this thing, and the legal costs and everything else, and we were starting to feel overwhelmed. But my wife, great researcher, came across this support decision making. And, she's always been a trailblazer. She homeschooled our 3 girls, all those kind of good stuff. But then we started looking about support decision making. And I realized once we embraced that, it really freed us from being stressed. We start focusing on what we're going to do for her, but started focusing on, well, what does Alicia want to do? And she has this thing about her, this knack about her that just really shows what she wants to do. And we started focusing on her. And through that, we've been blessed with, can't say enough about Dana, can't say enough about Ruby, about everybody here. And we find that we're learning as well. And so it's just freeing to see her doing things like we didn't think she could do before. When she was born, the first thing they did was they carted her off into intensive care, and they brought a clergy out to talk to my wife and I. At the time, we had no idea she was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And we think about how crippling that was how they grew her into the world. But it's good to see that she is just doing amazing things and keeps empowering us to grow because we want her to be absolute best. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
Okay.
I want to say one thing that
Yeah.
so the Georgia Project really benefited from a lot of support from CPR and Michael Kendrick through this process, and this was a role in my job that was just kind of like, hey, you want to do this thing, right? I didn't have a lot of background, so it benefited a lot from Michael's mentorship. And one of the things that he said that I think we are seeing in this room today is that we're not practicing supported decision making because we want to get good at decision making, right? We're doing this so people have access to a life, and that when we start turning towards people and asking them and offering them the opportunity to be the directors and determiners of their life, the change and growth is exponential. Right? Absolutely. This is why I do this work, right? I work at the P&A, and I say all the time, no one calls the P&A because they're having a good day, right? The rest of our work is really hard and difficult. This is the work that buoys me because Alicia and Darien and the McKenzies, and this is what will make change happen in our world, right? And it's that shift to say, no, it's not about Dana, it's not about Ruby, it's Alicia, what's happening in your life? What do you want to do? How do I help you get there? How am I going to help you accomplish that? What support do you need? And so to me, that's the heart of supported decision making, is that it is about helping people get to the life that they want, and as supporters, moving aside those barriers. And just like Darien said in the video, yeah, that's a pie in the sky dream, dude. How are we gonna get there, right? And taking the time to do that in really supportive and meaningful ways. So,
thank you. I just want to say one more thing, and a little bit of a soapbox issue for me, but we heard a lot about the Americans with Disabilities Act and Olmstead and what it's accomplished and what it hasn't accomplished. But one of the things that I think is such a foundational principle of the Olmstead decision is that people get the accommodations they need. And so I really think that the work that CPR wants to do moving forward is to recast supported decision-making as an accommodation for people so that they can make informed choices for themselves. And so that's really kind of the focus of their work. And, you know, Ruby and Seth Colson and I were talking last night. I think there's an amazing connection between supported decision-making and employment. And that's yet to be tapped, but I think that's like part of all of this larger kind of picture. So I think we're, just embarking on this work in some ways, and there's a lot more to be done, and we're all, like, in a very cool way, very, very inspired to be part of it. So thank you, everyone.
I want to thank everybody for coming. And Baba,